out this. Hey, it's your boy Troy. Check out this citation number 21 of the year. 20 3/4 inches, 4 pounds, 2 ounce smallmouth. Man, we've been in a little bit of a slump, a few weeks since we got a citation. A lot of 19s, including one today. But check out this 20 3/4 inch smallmouth. Beautiful fish. I'm gonna cut her loose.
All right, guys, welcome back to J.L.ScottFishing&Eats. Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to talk about Virginia Angler Recognition Program trophy catches. Okay, you can find this on Go Outdoors Virginia. If you want to take a look at all of your different species, you can do it by month, year, species, as well as body of water. We're going to take a look at October. So we can evaluate a lot of trophy citations for smallmouth, which are 20 inches or more. You have the inches, the length citation. You also have a weight citation in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you can participate in the Angler Recognition Program. It helps track a lot of things, highlight a lot of fisheries for DWR and those things. And also gives a little bit of shout out to people. For us in the Smallie Chaser community, some of our anglers in the Smallie Chaser River Bassin series, which is on Tourney X. You can find that under VA-Smallie Chaser River Bassin. We have 4 anglers that have registered a citation Smallie for the month of October. And we have, I believe, one, we'll check in a second, because I know some of the guys are out fishing today. So we have in the Smallie Chaser community, we have Thomas Cox from Virginia. He has registered a 20, a 20, a 20.25, a 20.5, and a 20.75 for the month of October. Okay. Kevin Waddell has registered a 20.25 and a 21-inch river Smallie in the month of October. Emily Reinhart has registered a 20-inch and a 20.25. And Troy Wines has registered a 20, a 20.25, and a 20.50. Now, Thomas Cox in the entire month of October for that particular monthly event registered a 101.50 of Virginia smallmouth, river only, in specific rivers in our series that you can fish in the monthly. So that is absolutely outstanding. So now for the month of November, we can pull up November that is going on currently. I believe we have 2. We currently have 4 smallmouth Smallie, citation Smallies, 20-inch, 20.25, 20.25, 20.75, all registered by Kevin Waddell. That brings his November total. Remember, 5 fish total, best 5 in that Smallie Chaser series, 100.25 inches of Virginia Smallie. So back-to-back months in the Smallie Chaser community in Virginia hitting the century mark. I do not believe we have any other citation Smallies registered in November in that series. However, there is an angler, Andrew Dolan, in the Smallie Chaser November series that has registered a 21 citation Smallie on the James River. It might not be registered on Tourney X simply because he may have registered for the monthly after that date. I hope that's the case. If it's not the case, he can't register it because you have to register your fish within 48 hours of the timestamp in which it was caught. So that's probably the case as to why Andrew Dolan hasn't registered that fish on Tourney X. But let's take a look at the Virginia Angler Recognition Program for the month of October and see where we're at. And we'll remember how we compared it to June, July, and August, right? The theme that I'm taking away from what I'm seeing, at least in the recognition program, There's some outliers in the Smallie Chaser River Bassin series. The predominant number of citation smallies in the fall always shifts, okay? It always shifts to the western mountain Allegheny, Appalachian region, okay? Just like in Maryland, the Allegheny River, it just switches to that, okay, in the fall, okay, as opposed to more of the central Piedmont fisheries. And this happens a little bit with largemouth bass as well, where a lot of the citation largemouth bass, if you look on the Virginia Angler Recognition Program and you look at largemouth bass in October, my guess would be most of those are coming from lakes or reservoirs, not rivers. Okay, and so you're going to see a theme here in the western part of the state. All right, of bigger fish being taken in the fall so far. This does not mean, obviously, these are not all of the fish that are caught in Virginia for October that were citation smallies, because these are the individuals that register them. Not everybody, the majority of people do not register their smallies. Okay. And so you just have to understand that. And there are a lot of number of reasons why people don't like to know where people don't like other people to know where they're fishing, those kind of things. And there are ways you can just designate your body of water, all the above or whatever. But so that's a hollow argument for me. But there are some people who just don't, so we're going to work out, and hopefully in our Smallie community, we used to have these things, and I'm not really sure if all states have them anymore. I'm sure some states do, but I think we're going to have a Smallie citation certificate that can be framed for our community and put on the wall, behind them if they're doing videos and stuff. Because it is a big deal to get a citation. I know a lot. I know we've kind of moved away, but I mean, back in the day growing up, that was a big deal. I mean, that was like a show thing, especially the guys that do multi-species citations. They've got a citation certificate for multiple species. That was always really, really cool growing up. I don't know why we've gotten away from that. You don't hear people talking about it anymore, but we're going to do that for our community. So if you're participating in the Smallie Chaser Monthlies or the single-day, multi-day events, you're part of the smallmouth community, our community that we're building. I'm going to get you out and you registered on TourneyX so I can verify it. I'm going to get you out a certificate, a really nice certificate that you can post on your wall, frame it, do whatever you want with it. Because I just think it's a big deal. We need to celebrate people more, and again, everyone feels like the only means in which we can celebrate anglers are tournament anglers, right? It's really not the case. Shouldn't be the case. We've moved to that direction where everything's got to be a competition, and I understand that. But we can also celebrate people that are just part of the community, so if you register that fish or can somehow send me a picture of the fish, timestamp, all that stuff, so make sure it's quality and not someone bogusing out and doing whatever, being a shyster. Get a certificate out to those individuals. So let's look at smallmouth citations. First up, Christopher Maslow, Nelly's Ford, Virginia, in the middle of Virginia. Okay, James River, 20.25. Roslyn, 20.25 on the James River. See if I can move this down without really messing all this up. Everett Brown, Montrose, all other waters. That means he's not providing the exact location. That's all that matters. That's all that means. Sorry. 20-inch smallmouth. Finn Williams, Potomac River smallmouth bass. Interesting. McLean, Virginia. For those of you who watch the videos that don't know, the Upper Potomac is broken pretty much in DC, kind of like a quote fault line, where you have the Upper Potomac is a predominant smallmouth fishery. The tidal Potomac is predominantly a largemouth bass fishery. So it's kind of interesting why they just didn't put Upper Potomac. Just list it. That could be a DWR thing. Let me move my mug out of the way over here and see if we can't move this a little bit down lower. Okay, where are we at? Jamie Fultz, Shenandoah, 21.5. Quite a few. Again, western part of Virginia. From Shenandoah, you're going to see this. Shenandoah, Maury, Upper James, New River. Okay? Predominant, really since September, have been where the bigger fish have been coming from in the angler recognition program, but also in our series, to be fair. John Sickle, Rapidan River. That's more central. The Rapidan and Rappahannock are more central. So that is a massive, massive Smallie. All right, Wangasach, South Fork, Shenandoah, 20-inch. Keith Trumps, Blacksburg, New River. Here we go. New River, 20.75. New River, 20. New River, all 2 days apart. New River, 20.50. Okay, so within 2 days, 3 citation Smallies caught by Keith Trumps on the New River. New River has absolutely been lights out since late September, for sure. In Virginia, they've let the water back in from Clater. So the river was down for a while. They let the water back, emptied the water out, like filled that back up. Then there was a fire at Parrott, and then I think or McCoy or Parrott. Then there was another fire up in the gorge in West Virginia. They've kind of like wonked some stuff out for a bit, but things are settling back in, and we're starting to see a lot more big catches. At least the first week in November, we're starting to see a little bit more activity on the new in terms of catch rates. Michael Fowler, South Fork, Shenandoah. Got 2 citations the same day, 20.5, 21.25. Robert Klug, or Kluge maybe, Charlottesville. There's a winery, Kluge Winery, isn't there, in Charlottesville? Oh, wait, I think Trump bought that winery. Smallmouth bass, 20 inches, New River. Stuart Kendall, James River, 20-inch. Thomas Ray, New River, 20.5. Thomas Zahalka, Smith Mountain Lake, 21 inches, 10.25. Troy Wines from Lynchburg, Virginia. You can find him on Facebook and on TikTok, I believe. Look for Troy Bassin around if you want to follow Troy. Maury River, 20-inch. On the 4th, on the 12th, Maury River, 5-pounder. So he did that one's by weight. So we got caught a 5-pound smallmouth, which is probably a citation anyway, length. But some of the fish in our series that I've been tracking have been footballs, and they haven't been citation in length, but they've probably been pretty close to 4.5 to 5 pounds. 10.24 Maury River, 20.25. Okay, and I think those are your citations for the month of October 2023 in the Commonwealth of Virginia through the Virginia DWR Go Outdoors Angler Recognition Program. So you can easily check that out online. You can look at all the months, like I said. You can look for largemouth. You can look for all the bass. You can look for catfish. You can look for all the species in Virginia. They're all available for you to log your catches on the angler recognition if you so want to. But that's where we're at for the month of October. So we're definitely seeing a drop off in the number of citations in October from September, pretty much at least, and getting into this thing as they began to feed up in September. They're still feeding up, but a lot of things have changed in our rivers with regard to the crayfish and regard to our bait fish. And the water is very, very low in most rivers across Virginia. And, of course, we know what's going on with the weather. The weather's been kind of yo-yoing for 3 weeks now. So it's 75 degree one day and 42 degrees next day and back up to 60 and back down to 30 and ice on the windshields in the morning. And then it's 75, 78 degrees by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's kind of played a little bit of but you got to remember, Smallies are really resilient. They're very, very different than largemouth bass. They are less impacted by a lot of these weather events than people think than largemouth. Largemouth tend to be a lot more skittish in terms of when there's a weather event that impacts their environment. They're always going to stay really tighter to cover and in the grass and things like that. They don't mind more of a darker, murkier water. A lot of times you'll find that in lakes and reservoirs as opposed to like the Smallies. Smallies like to find that clean water for the most part. They'll still be moving around Middle River, all that stuff in the fall. Still going to find them close to rock because you're going to find those Smallies, being adjacent to more rock than necessarily other structure. Most of your rivers may not have docks or may not have that kind of stuff. They tend to prefer the rock lines, the ledge lines, the fall lines, and the rocks in the middle of the river, unless they're out feeding. And so it continues to go up to display. The bait fish are out moving around, and so the smallies are going to be feeding up for wintertime. The fall appears to be pretty mild. We do not expect it to be a mild winter this year, in all accounts, from what people are saying. We're expecting to see a lot of heavy, either rain or snow, but still is going to completely change a lot of things compared to the weathers we've had, because we have not had that much rain this year in a lot of our fisheries, really since late spring. And so it'll be interesting to see what that weather does and changes our rivers during the next 3 months. And then when we come back in spring, what we're looking at, in terms of the weather events. We could have an late winter high water event, a high flood stage event. It has happened before. And so, those things are always going to flip the switch on what the spring's going to look like. But we've had very mild winters for the last 4, 5, 6 years. Not really any major snow events, except for in Western Maryland, but in the central Piedmont to D.C., Maryland, Pennsylvania, just have not really had, big snow events that don't stay, snow that doesn't stay on the ground for more than an afternoon or maybe a day, but that's about it. The ground just has never really gotten, frozen to keep the snow. So we'll see. And we certainly haven't had any other rivers ice over, in that regard. It can happen from the outsides coming in. We've had small, on our lakes, small thin sheets of ice a little bit over the last 2 years, but nothing major. And they say this year is going to be different. So we'll have to see. But that's the update. That's the October update. Be sure to check us out. Please like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, J.L. Scott Fishing. Please make sure you check us out at Smallie Chaser River Bassin on Facebook, as well as J.L. Scott Fishing and Eats on Facebook. And you also could find me on TikTok. And you can join the Smallmouth Army group and get the free Smallmouth newsletter, which has all other kinds of stuff. I think the latest article was on hover strolling for smallmouth bass, which is a very interesting technique. I know that some people are out now employing it because there's so many different, unique kind of ideas. I'll probably do a video of that coming up, so stay tuned for that, because there's really different presentations you can do with that hover strolling technique. It's really got introduced probably, or I want to say last year, but it kind of hit the Pro Tour, Bass Pro Tour, Bass Elite Series this year, in terms of someone actually utilizing that technique, on the professional tour, and it getting coverage and getting blown up. But it's kind of a technique that's been around for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, slowly working its way. And it's just different things you can do to take your shallow baits that you're fishing for smallie, shallow water, finesse baits, and utilize them in deeper water. Okay. Things where you want to substitute a fluke to get you deeper down than you can a traditional, say, hard bait, jerk bait. It's going to stay in that top part of that water column. But you want the same kind of action as that jerk bait. So you would go to that fluke, and you can rig that up with a nail weight and things like that. And that action is just so much, and the most important thing about hover strolling really for smallies is it's really come to fruition really because of live scope. You can actually keep a finesse bait in the strike zone longer. Remember, almost all of your hard baits are what we call moving baits, right? You've got to work your crankbait, right? You just don't let your crankbait, you can make it die, you can stop it and try and get a strike, but for the most part, your chatterbait is a moving bait. Your crankbait is a moving bait. Your jerk bait is a moving twitch bait, right? You can't really stop them and do to provide any action. During that hover strolling presentations, you can stop these baits, keep them in the strike zone, and still work them. Okay? And if you have live scope, or really any kind of electronics, but if you have live scope and you can see the suspended smallies or even largemouth are suspending at 9 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever, or if they're largemouth, even deeper, you can get right down in there and you can stay in that zone longer. So we're going to cover that presentation a little bit. I know some of the guys are using that in the last few weeks to catch some crazy amounts of smallies, okay? Especially, I know guys up here in Western Maryland, we've got some Western Mountain reservoirs that have smallmouth that love that 12 to 14 foot area in the water column. Love that area. And a lot of your top water baits, a lot of the baits that you got aren't really going to be attracting that. You've got to utilize some other techniques. I tend to throw hair jigs and stuff, but this hover strolling technique and modifications that you can do with different baits is really, really cool. So you want to check that out. I'm sure there's articles all over Facebook or all over YouTube, the internet. Just Google hover strolling and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I'm sure there's probably some videos on YouTube of some guys out actually, anglers, professional anglers, out actually utilizing it to give you a good idea. But again, check out the Virginia Angler Recognition Program. You can check it out for largemouth if you want. We kind of focus on smallmouth. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead and put them in the YouTube. You can reach out to me on Messenger on J.L.ScottFishing&Eats about any of the areas, any of the launch locations, what's going on with the habitat, what's going on in the rivers, what's kind of like the report for various rivers, what some of the most popular baits that are happening right now. Always feel free to answer all those questions. You can post it on Facebook on the page, or you can just hit me up in Messenger if you want to have a private conversation. Set you up. If you're looking for guides as well, I could set you in the right place for some guides in Virginia to take you out. A lot of the guides are still going out because the weather is still, it's the fall, but we're still, weather's still mild enough. It's not too cold. It's cold in the mornings, but, it's not too cold to be out on the water. I know some of the guides out on New River and James and all that, they're going to plan on rolling throughout the end of the month and probably into December because, it's still pretty mild. So we will touch base again for the month of November for this series for the Angler Recognition. You can go back on YouTube channel. I think it's in the playlist. But you can go back and find the other months if you're interested in seeing what the catches were in the spring and in the summer. You can find them on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right. See you next time.